kingdom without a king, a land drowning in war, a prophecy whispered through the ages, and a sword, not an ordinary weapon, but one born from legend, a blade that would choose its own master, not by birthright, not by strength, but by destiny. This is the tale of a ruler who was never meant to be, of a sword that defied time, of a kingdom that rose and fell, and of a legend that refuses to fade. This is the story of King Arthur and Excalibur. The kingdom lay fractured. Power belonged to the strongest, and the strong devoured the weak. Lords waged war not for justice, but for greed. Blood soaked the fields, and hope was a ghost in the eyes of the people. There was no law, no unity, only the endless clash of steel and the cries of the fallen. But there was a prophecy. It spoke of a king who would rise, not from noble blood, but from fate itself. A ruler who would bring peace, guided not by ambition, but by the will of something greater. And in the heart of the land, waiting in silence, was a sword. It stood embedded in stone, as if the earth itself had placed it there. Its blade had not dulled with time, its hilt unweathered by age. Warriors, kings, and thieves alike had come to claim it, their hands grasping its grip with all the strength they could muster. Yet the sword remained. They pulled, they strained, they cursed the gods, but the blade would not yield to mortal arrogance. Then, on a day like any other, a hand reached out, one that had never held a weapon before, a hand unscarred by war, a hand unburdened by greed. Fingers closed around the hilt, and the sword moved. A gasp rippled through the gathered crowd as the blade slid free, as if recognizing the one it had awaited for so long. The wind howled, the sky seemed to shudder, and in that moment, fate was sealed. A ruler had been chosen. A kingdom does not rise by the blade alone. A leader is not made by the steel in his grasp, but by the trust in his heart. And so the young king sought not dominion, but unity. A table was forged, not long, not narrow, but round. No man sat above another, for all who joined swore their loyalty not to a king, but to a cause. Justice, honor, and brotherhood bound them together. And from this bond, legends were born. The Knights of the Round Table. Their names echoed across the land. They fought not for glory, but for those who could not fight for themselves. Their blades sang in battle, but their hearts beat for peace. But among the whispers of their triumphs, another tale grew. A tale of a woman who lived beneath the waters, a being untouched by time, whose hand bore a gift beyond measure. The lake was unlike any other. It never stilled, its surface rippling as though something beneath it was alive. It was said that beyond its depths lay a world unseen, a realm untouched by mortal hands. One night, beneath the cold gaze of the moon, the waters stirred. A pale hand, slender and unearthly, rose from the depths. In its grasp, a sword unlike any other. Its blade shimmered as if woven from light itself, its edges impossibly sharp, its weight beyond mortal craftsmanship. Excalibur, a weapon of kings, a blade not given, but entrusted. With Excalibur in his grasp, no enemy could stand before him. Battles ended before they began. Armies trembled at the sight of the sword's gleaming edge. Its wielder became legend, and the kingdom knew peace. But power, even when wielded with the purest intent, casts a long shadow. Not all who had sworn loyalty remained true. Some whispered in the dark corners of the castle halls. They questioned the king's right to wield such a weapon. They saw not justice, but a force too great for any one man. The seeds of doubt took root, and from doubt betray was born. The kingdom that had stood unshaken for so long began to fracture. The unity that had once bound it together crumbled. Friend turned against friend. Swords that once stood side by side now clashed in anger. The final battle came like a storm, fierce and merciless. The wind carried the screams of the fallen. Steel met steel, shattering the peace that had been fought for so dearly. And at the heart of it all, the king stood, Excalibur in hand, his breath heavy, his strength waning. Around him lay those who had once called him brother. The dream he had built was collapsing, and the sword that had once given hope now dripped with the blood of betrayal. As the dust settled, the kingdom fell silent. A reign built on honor had been undone by the very forces it had sought to defy. But legends do not die. A blade forged in destiny could not remain in a world unworthy of its power, and so it was returned. The lake awaited, its waters as still as a held breath. The sword, still gleaming, was lifted one final time. A hand, the same that had once given it, rose again to claim it. The blade slipped beneath the surface. The water closed, swallowing its gift. And so Excalibur was lost. Yet the legend endured. They say the king did not die that day, that he merely sleeps, waiting for the moment he is needed once more. That when the land cries out for its ruler, he will rise again, the sword once more in his grasp. The once and future king, a name that will never fade, a blade that will never be forgotten. Arthur, Excalibur, their story never ends. Legends are not just stories, they are echoes of the past, waiting to be remembered. The tale of King Arthur and Excalibur has stood the test of time, shaping warriors, inspiring dreamers, and reminding us that even the greatest of rulers are bound by fate. But what if it is more than just a tale? What if the king truly waits for the day he is called upon again? If you believe in legends, if you believe in the power of stories, then keep this one alive, share it, speak of it, pass it forward. And if you seek more legends, more myths, more stories lost to time, then join us. Subscribe, follow, and step into the past. Because history is waiting to be told. And this is just the beginning.